Lisa is here.
Hi, good evening. I have 6:30. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting number 1871 of the East Windsor Planning and Zoning Commission. We are in person in the John Daly Meeting Room of the Town Hall, as well as available on the Zoom platform. We have a quorum. We have all 5 regular members present. Do we have any added agenda items?
We do not.
Okay. There was no legal notice for this meeting.
No.
So we are at our public participation portion of our meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda? Okay, move on. Approval of minutes. We have the minutes of our last meeting held on March 26, 2023. Does anyone have any edits or corrections?
I have a question. Line 30 says Frank Gowdy was absent. And line 159 says Frank Gowdy moved the motion to adjourn.
That will be incorrect.
So I can't tell you what is correct, but
I do keep that,
oh,
and
that's good.
Stacy made the motion and Dave second. Yes, so,
Yep.
so we will cross out
Gowdy moved.
and we'll add, then we'll put Stacy.
Okay,
See how good the numbers work?
Yes, exactly.
good numbers. Yeah, I like. the
Yeah.
numbers.
Okay. Anything else?
I have a couple.
Okay,
On line 133. The last, so it's the training session will also be on Zoom. And I wanted to note that the page numbers aren't automating, so page 2, 3, and 4
Oh,
all
yes.
say page 2.
correct. Okay, so this will now become page 3. And this will become page 4. Okay.
And the last one was on line 33. I think what was intended was Director of Planning and Development / Town Planner.
We will strike planning director
Right.
and put in town. Okay. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of regular meeting 1870 held Tuesday, March 26th, with the edit to line 33, striking planning director and replacing it with town planner. On line 133, after the training will, inserting the word also. And on line 159, replacing Gowdy moved with Stacy moved and correcting the page numbers 3 and 4.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second motion.
Second by Stacy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. The receipt of applications, there was one. We received PZ 2024-06 for zoning change requested by the East Windsor Housing Authority on Reservoir Ave, map 078, block 56, block 032, and block 038. This application will be heard at a future meeting. Performance bonds, actions, permit extensions, road acceptance, we have nothing. So now we go to our continued public hearing, PZ 2024-01, Town of East Windsor, zoning map amendment to include the new Warehouse Point Design District, which has been continued from February 27th, March 12th, and March 26th. So, in your packets, we should have the new amended map.
So if you recall at the last meeting, we had shown a map that had the black hash marks. Showing the map changes. And so those have been removed. And this map represents those areas that were to be removed from the various zones. So we're proposing this to be the map that gets delivered.
Is everyone familiar with the changes? We did an explanation of what that changed. Kind of at the top of the map, that residential area got taken out of the transition one. And then there were a couple of core properties closer toward the highway that got removed also.
Yeah, the business zone is, as you head towards the highway, those core zone properties were moved, and also in you'll see that the R zone shows up in between the M1 as you head a little bit south. I'm looking upside down and there's no street name, but this piece. That piece was also removed, so it's falling back to the, all of them are back to their current zone. I don't know how many parcels in total, but those are the three
Yeah.
pockets.
There's about just shy of 200 left in between transition and 4. Okay. The ones that were presented from the Colvest group, those were removed.
So they just stay in the HIZ zone.
They're
They stay in B.
zone.
In B.
Yeah,
there's no HI.
they're eligible.
Okay.
Yeah, they're eligible. So here, I'm sorry, I'm just flipping around trying to find this, but this map shows the properties that were removed. Crash.
Yep. And lovely. But you see the-
I thought it was in the
Oh.
packet. Yep. Oh, that's what.
Yeah, that's the- Oh, here, yeah, that would have changed.
Okay, and there's not been any other further contact into the office of people voicing any other concerns?
No, we didn't receive any other than, would it be heard tonight and decided on? So those folks are here tonight.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? No. All right, so this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on behalf of in regards to this application? Is there anyone online that would like to speak in regards to this application? Well, nobody has anything else that they want to add to this, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on PZ 2024-1. The Town of East Windsor zoning map amendment to include a new Warehouse Point Design District.
There's a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Okay, I don't see any reason why we can't go ahead and vote on adopting this new map. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the new zoning map.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Warehouse Point proposed zoning changes revised April 4th, 2024.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Any further discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Unanimous. Okay. Have, no new public hearings. No old business, no new business. So other business, discussion regarding potential regulation revisions.
I'm gonna I can just pick on that from the photo. Yeah, Well, I'll use your machine. So. The first, regulation change really has to do with when there's more than 100 cubic yards of material being moved within a given parcel, one parcel. You're excavating one area, maybe for a swimming pool or something, and you want to take that material and
Regraded.
regrade within the same parcel. So we're thinking, we don't have the exact wording right now, but we would like to get into 814. Address situations like that.
But there'll be a cap on the amount of, I'll say, dirt you can
Yes,
go in your parcel.
yes, within your parcel.
I think a swimming pool is too small amount of dirt to come in for a permit for that, but I agree with it, like the other parcel we have over here. The,
Mill?
no,
Thinking about.
I don't wanna name names.
Okay,
But
but yeah, so that would be
Yeah.
excessive, is what you're saying.
Yes.
if somebody's trying to do a total contour slope change.
Right, right.
they're-
No, I think it's really about having excess material that,
And rather than having to haul it out, they want to be able to redisperse it over the same property that. we talked
Yeah.
about.
So when someone does a pool and digs a deep hole, would they be required to keep dirt on their property?
I don't think we would require it, but if they
No, she's saying
desired it.
if somebody doesn't want to have it trucked off and just to be able to spread it out.
No, I don't,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I have no problem with that. If it's,
Where,
I'm
how is this,
saying-
how is this addressed currently? You said it's under 814?
100 cubic yards.
Yeah, we have 100, after 100 cubic yards, you need a special use.
Yeah, I
permit.
thought you could, I couldn't,
And the
I
way
thought you
that
could,
our-
I thought you couldn't bring in more than 100 cubic yards,
Either way,
either way.
excavation or filling.
Oh,
And that triggers you into a special use permit, which is written really for a gravel pit.
yes.
So it's really a tough,
So it's usually never excavation because usually people are bringing it in and the trucks go to red flag. That's how you usually go.
Mhm,
Phone calls for you guys, right?
mhm.
what's 100 cubic yards look like? Like when you're doing landscaping, is it
Six
tiny?
trucks, 5
Six
Yeah.
trucks,
Not a
6
lot.
trucks, not a lot.
Not a lot.
Mhm.
It's not a lot.
It's
So-
not.
Well, I think that's the other piece that we kind of were talking about is that
It's on the
it
side
could
of
be
the
a lot,
parcel.
but it also could not be a lot. So if you have a farm that just wants to top dress a field or,
Yeah.
And it's
That's not-
great.
but they, right.
But in a small R1 parcel.
Could
Yeah.
it create a berm?
Issue.
Either
Yeah.
one.
Could it create a berm? Could it create a site obstruction? Could it create
Yeah.
a water drainage problem for a neighbor, right?
Certainly could, certainly.
Yeah.
A quarter acre barns.
Exactly.
The way it's written now, it talks about excavation and removal. And it talks about filling,
Phil's I think the one,
but,
the big one.
Bill's the one that I'd be worried about.
right,
Yeah.
But moving around my yard, moving around stuff in my own
If
yard.
you're like, you can't tell me about my yard.
When it's landscaping within your own yard and you're making a mound to plant a bush, it's like,
Yeah, or
No big
if
deal,
I wanna
but-
take another pool, I'm just taking my stuff.
so do we,
but you have to have a big enough parcel.
are we thinking then we want to have a separate line item for grading? You're really kind of, that's what we're falling into, is right? It's not,
Yeah, it's a,
it's a regrading of.
There's
But
nobody,
it does matter if somebody is regrading such that they flood their neighbor.
You're right, and I agree with
Because-
that, that's,
I have all my neighbors drain into my backyard.
but if you got 30 acres of land, then you
It's,
got big.
it's insignificant.
exactly,
Yeah.
now you're making somebody that does have 30 acres of land come in and build.
And they're not, and they're not.
For what?
You know, this is my dirt.
It's my dirt, I'm spreading my dirt around my yard, and I'm gonna lose it all down the hill.
That's tough.
Yes.
Bringing in, I think it's definitely easier to call than
Just.
moving around your own dirt.
I have at one point, looking at all my neighbors that drained into me, I got, an excavation type landscaping company to look at it. And their answer was to make the back of my lot lower, and they wanted to haul out a lot of dirt,
Create like a water trap for it.
I guess,
And
because
then
everything
funnel.
pitches toward my house, and so they made a
Something
big
out there
retention
lower.
pond in the back.
Create a drainage switch.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you're not doing one, you keep going downhill where you are. You keep going down, right?
And that's nice, you're helping everybody else's water problem.
yeah.
It's nice of you to put a pond in when you should.
But I didn't,
Yeah.
because it
You
would have
know.
cost a fortune. and
Yeah.
Why do I want to pay you all this money to take
Let the
a whole
water-
and
let
truck
the
load
water
of
keep
dirt and
going.
make a hole in my yard?
I think it would be better to, if we're worried about, if we're going after this for flooding neighbors, I think we should more attack that than trying to
Yeah.
police somebody moving
No,
some
I-
dirt around his yard, or give something that says, geez, you've got more than 5 acres of land,
Yeah.
you
And
can.
as long as you don't flood your neighbors,
So there's gotta be some verbiage in there to not disrupt
the drainage
Yeah, the
The
water,
existing,
everybody-
water flow.
Oh.
around
Or
me
setback
has
around
figured out how to
Yes,
my
yep.
backyard.
without
Is
drastically
it, is it
changing
going to
elevation.
require a, like a
I
grading plan or a topo or anything like that?
Plan, I think.
So that, you know, you can have it on paper, basically showing
Yep, you're gonna dig,
elevations
you're
that
gonna dig something.
I'm starting at this elevation and this is where my finished grade is going
Yep,
to.
3-car garage.
That's gonna require a surveyor.
Yes,
That's gonna be
Big bucks.
big bucks.
it's really good.
But if they keep the drainage on their property, it's fine.
In my mind, I know I've seen regulations where they talk about. The total amount, or if there's an average change in grade of X. Because I could bring in 300 cubic yards if I have 5 acres, that's
And-
an inch of topsoil.
Yeah.
So even though I'm bringing in beyond that 100 cubic yards, I'm not changing the average grade by more than an inch.
Yeah,
And I know I've seen regulations that look at that.
I could agree with that, like the guy over there would wanna change the contour, everything, make it flat.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not soil, that's gravel and other.
They change,
This is, I think really what you're talking about is just soil. Not sand, not gravel, not recycled materials, there's it's just straight up dirt. Which is also, I think, different than what a lot of the operations are, they're dealing with things that they can make money on and
Mhm.
excess dirt, not so much.
I don't know. To me, it's expensive when you buy dirt
By the bag.
by the bag.
A lot of that is moving it. You're paying for the truck.
But to have them dumped,
Yeah, because the dirt's not very expensive, it's the truck driver that.
to get
Mhm.
Harkins to dump 1 cubic yard in my driveway, it adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah, topsoil.
Mhm.
But if you were to dig a foundation for a 2-car garage and you have a pool or something, that's a lot of dirt that you may not want to keep.
Right.
So they usually haul it off site, most of the time
Yeah.
it's not good, that's
Yeah,
why.
they're not paying for it.
If you have,
If
the
you have the
road.
land, it's fine.
What's the section?
But when you talk about, you know, no more than an inch of grade change, how are you gonna know that unless you do a survey?
Because you can run the calcs, and basically say if the lot is 50 by 100,
Yeah.
and you're bringing in 100 cubic yards, your average grade change will be X.
Right, you're regrowing the whole.
But they could put it all at the property line.
Well, they could provide a sketch, but it, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, topography on a survey is. The other thing that I think we were talking about, and this came up during one of the more recent applications, is one of the applicants asked, because the way the regulations were written, they interpreted it to mean, well, if we're doing site work and it's in excess of 100 cubic yards, are you saying we need a separate special permit? Because the regs don't exempt projects.
because if the site plan showed it,
Yeah.
But the rec doesn't actually say that, so they're saying, well, if we're having to move 100 cubic yards, do we need a separate permit, or is that covered?
They're just clarifying.
I think it should be covered.
And that's what
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
we said, but they,
Because there you're looking at the drainage.
right,
I think some of the subdivisions in the past, I've seen some excavation permits issued for like substantial regrading prior to someone coming in with a building permit. I'm saying that once. So,
Well, those guys on the construction site, they put dirt anywhere, they don't care where, they're easiest for them.
mhm.
They plan here, they think they threw it out the window. Like
They also drive,
stockpile here, stockpile don't work out.
they also drive their heavy trucks and compact it, so that changes the grade, so. And they
So
do it by the property.
I'm hearing like we could tweak amounts, like have a range,
Yeah,
you know. It's gotta be a not more than some amount of cubic yard.
but
Do you want to play it on cubic yards, or do you want to put it under
Percent.
percent grade change or anything like
Or-
that, or overall elevation change?
I think you do both,
yeah,
set limits on both sides,
And maybe a lot size too. I don't know.
I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing.
or yeah,
Put
basically
it per acre, or
percentage of lot size. I guess that would dial up. We could, I'm gonna look for that other regular saw. Let's go figure out what I saw.
So I got like a neighbor down the street and got like a mini motocross track in the backyard. I'm like, how does that fall in regulation? I don't really care, but. I'm like, oh, surprised me, it's males called by now.
There are towns that have regs and ordinances against dirt bikes.
Well, it's on his own property too. You know.
I think
The north
Berlin
Some
has
place for
one
the kids to play.
Different kids.
within a couple, can't ride one within a couple 100 feet of property line.
And I'm not for that.
Like, do it across your front yard.
That's not being a nice neighbor. They should love the gas a little bit. Okay,
So the second one, planned commercial development. You have the planned commercial development district, and we've had a couple of intriguing conceptual meetings that didn't really come into being. But there are some larger properties that are not within the applicability criteria, because we have Group 5 and we have North Road
right?
Business Development District, so there's a couple of parcels that are located outside of that, that we hear a lot of concepts that you want to say, oh, land that commercial development district to help them design the best fit for the property. And so we're thinking we want to make some changes to that applicability piece to really go for large parcels that have development potential.
we will help and them out if they bring water up the road.
Yep, I like that.
That's your
40,
biggest obstacle right there. is
Water.
Oh, I know.
Water and
On
sewer.
for North Road, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
wet, it's a swamp.
They could have had that road wide open. They could have had it in when they put the mansions. In the town a little bit before we got here. Cause we would have been all over that. But anyway, that's what stops all the big development.
Right, but there are other parcels that, you know, are located outside of that area that I think could
Are they on
benefit.
utilities at all? or-
Yeah,
And. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest.
It should be on water and sewer.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I work for anything with that.
okay. So
I
we
guess
work
the
on-
only thing I would say is if it abuts a residential
Yeah.
development.
Then the buffer areas will have to be looked at.
Yeah, because you don't want a huge
Oh, right.
commercial
Mhm.
next to or in the middle of a development. I think of
Yep.
out in Melrose, you know, those developments in the countryside and there's a lot of land.
Mhm,
If you put a big commercial
Yeah,
development there,
Southwest.
right,
yeah, and those people are not going to be happy at all.
Well, that's what they did in Enfield across from Fernie, put that big building there and they had a residential
Yeah,
neighborhood
they took out Agway.
right behind it. And
Yep.
then people, I know people on the street, they sold their house
yeah.
Yeah.
because they put that big building.
Right.
Right.
To me, it kind of depends.
They right to Gadway out, you're right.
Right.
So, you know, if it's on,
That's not the commercial growth either, that's not.
but if the people bought, assuming it was zoned agricultural and residential, and all of a sudden you may say, that's a planned commercial development, you got an Amazon warehouse next to
Yeah.
it.
I agree, it's
I don't-
bigger.
You things change, I mean.
Yeah.
But there should be a process for them to have say.
And the planned commercial was really designed for like
By the land.
commercial, mixed use, flexibility, high design. It Wasn't, the intent as drafted is not,
Not industrial.
not
Yeah.
to drop the biggest thing you can fit on the property. And the development district process gives you extreme discretion to say, I want a buffer of X, or I don't want this, you don't.
Right,
Correct.
exactly, so you stop that already, but if you're right on the fringe of it,
It's meant to facilitate those neighborhood style,
Yep.
multiple uses.
Like Rebate's kind of deal. We were, I didn't know that was. They came in here looking for a B1. Of course, didn't happen.
So then we have some draft language in the packet for this limited infill. And this, it kind of addresses a couple of areas at once. It's going after diversified housing stock. And it also could help, agricultural land maintain farming while still having an opportunity to bring in some income. So really what it is in these residential areas that they want even, allowing for housing. That could be duplexes, like the one that was just built over here on Rye Street,
Yeah,
you know, up to 6 units with, you know, up the frontage that, and with access for the farmer to continue.
I guess there are times where I see it makes sense. But saying we're gonna have 6 units of multifamily housing in an R3 that's infill, does that mean on a 0.6 acre lot, you can put 6 houses?
There's a 3 acre minimum.
Okay, so you're getting a half acre per lot.
Yeah, the first page is just clarifying the table because it doesn't show you which zones are which. Go to the next page. You'll see the actual standards.
And this would all still be under special use permit.
I have this, it would be just straight up permitted. And I guess the thought would be, you can build in the design standards into the regulation, which I've sort of got here, 50-foot landscape buffer, parking, you know, direct access, all of these things. So at least the starting point would be to consider building all those in so that every single one has to have it, rather than going through the special permit process to then put conditions on it, which will effectively be the same thing. If we're trying to encourage that housing diversity and for different types of housing rather than just single family detached, you know, you want to grease the skids a little bit.
But this would still have to follow all the subdivision regulations also, correct?
If they were, yeah, if they were splitting it, they would have to go through the subdivision process, yeah.
But the
But
easiest
if
way,
they built a multifamily, you know, like condo where it's on one parcel, they would.
Well, because they would be taking that off of the farm parcel is the idea. If they wanted to take the whole farm parcel and
But
and
it,
just put the
but you can
6,
do it in R2 and R3. It's not just a farm parcel, it's anywhere.
right, but the idea is because it's limited to only 6 units and at least 3 acres. You're
You've
gonna
got the same.
the larger, yeah. So, and that, when you look at it, the current zone, if you're saying it's in R20, you're in a 20,000 square foot, which is, call it half an acre. So you get, on a single acre parcel, you get 2 single family units. we're telling you,
It just kind of.
so we're not
Boundary
creating,
is.
yeah, much change in the density.
Yeah,
It's just, we're focusing in a specific area of the property. And hopefully preventing that farm parcel from just getting, you know, a road put right down the middle.
and, yeah,
And so the farmer, whoever owned that parcel would own these rental units. And
they could sell them off.
He could even sell a
If
small
he
portion
puts them
off.
accordingly, then.
And
then
then sell up
set
the
them off.
3 acres, and then someone would build the development.
Or he could
Farm.
sell them off individually duplex wise, if he should choose to, if he spreads them out enough, or she spreads them out enough to make sure they're all on 1 acre.
That
So
would be
one
the
duplex
sub- yeah.
per acre.
If they sell it separately, it would be a
Okay.
subdivision. If
Yeah.
they sell the units without the land, then it'd be a homeowner.
Association,
HOA.
Yeah.
which is in here, which is
Okay, cool.
part of J.
It's part of J. For units.
And what's the
we
reason
separately
why
owned,
held
a
to
community association.
allow it to double for additional 6?
Big parcels. If you have a big piece of property,
Oh, you have to have
6
6 acres
acres.
instead of 3 acres.
And then you
Right.
get 12 units.
right,
Okay,
So only if you go above the 6, you have to be public water and sewer? If you stay to the 6 units, you do not have to be on public water and sewer?
Commission may issue a special permit for up to an additional 6 units, because the cap is 6. At least 6 acres. 6 acres, would not like double the required frontage provided.
Six
Yeah,
acres
so
equals-
if you're staying at or below 6, you don't need water and sewer.
Above 6, then you do.
Right, and at
Well,
this,
it happens. If you don't have sewer and you're, or water, and you fit wells and septic,
Is this
You
common well, common septic or individual or?
I mean, it would be up to the way it was designed, but it's I mean. Septics are designed based upon bedrooms,
Mhm.
so.
Yep.
You know, you're not dealing with necessarily anything different if it's, you know, a single family attached or whatever, it's not 3,000
distance
square feet.
between
Yeah, I know.
septic and well.
I don't know how that works, but it's something,
Yeah.
I've never seen that before in all years of no construction. It's
I-
always been sewer.
You could do community,
Do that because it's too hard.
But who's gonna maintain it?
the community
Through the
systems,
That
it would be through the HOA.
Yeah.
They put like that, like an 18,000 gallon tank out there.
This is, I know that this is a bit of a difference here for you guys that have the luxury of this, but there's, you know, at least a third of the state, probably a half, that doesn't have any sewer. And so all of these units are, I mean,
We've done this.
yeah, I work in several towns that have apartment complexes with dozens and dozens of units, they're all septic.
And they're tacked.
Really?
Wow.
And do the people take care of the
Yeah, but-
septic?
Well,
if
it's
it's-
We have
Owner.
one of our 200,000 square foot buildings on septic.
Yeah.
Really?
I
Yeah,
mean,
but there's not other, well, there's not.
yeah, the FedEx, 300,000 square feet is on septic, two
Many
truck stops on septic.
It's huge, it's huge. I mean, it's bigger than this room.
But I guess,
Okay, yeah.
I always feel like with septic, you have to be really careful what
Where
you
you
put in it.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't put cooking oil in it, you can't do a lot of things, and when you start putting a shared septic, are people going to be
Yeah,
careful
pay
what they
attention to
pour
that.
down the drain?
No.
If it's
they
not
won't.
theirs.
They're
Well,
not
But,
there.
yeah,
On one side, if they're the renters, then there's someone who owns it who does care, and they would
Yeah.
be responsible for maintaining it, and if they're the owners, then they would care. But also, community septics are reviewed differently as with
Yeah.
DEP, so
and
it's,
so there's like,
So they're probably
So
emptying
these traps
faster or
that-
more frequently.
there's a different level of review that goes into
I'm
it.
thinking about the farm worker housing. And
Right.
So like,
Yeah.
what they put in for that.
So one thing I know
but
about,
are they gonna
Would this be right
pour
around?
oil down that? And say, well, farm
yeah.
workers, I'm guessing, aren't like cooking a ton and pouring grease down.
one thing I know about this town, if you take a plot of land and you put single family houses, you usually don't get too much blowback. You put up multifamily
Yeah.
rentals, because they say this town is way over the number that we're supposed to be for state criteria. Nobody wants any more rentals. We got, 10 million apartment complexes and
So
I'm not
Yes.
comfortable with septic getting maintained.
these would not be apartments, they would be single family attached, these,
Townhome.
Yeah.
these units,
Duplex.
right,
six
so.
blocks, 7 blocks.
Right, but so they're probably, if they were going rental right now, based on what's going on nearby, you're probably talking $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
Mhm.
So, not necessarily, not,
Farmhand. rental.
right, all having direct access to the outside, so there's no hallways and corridors, these are not apartment style, they're just townhouses.
Mhm.
Not low end, I'm sure.
No, you know,
No.
yeah, I 1,000 square feet with basically no amenities on a single floor is going like $2,500-$2,800 a month.
So my daughter rents 1,000 square foot apartment, she pays $1,800 a month.
Yeah, this is brand new, I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, these are
And
not gonna be anywhere
Multi-level
near,
living. Yeah, it's different.
right, they're not gonna be anywhere near the affordable housing threshold.
Definitely, these people, the first thing they start coming up, like, wait a minute, you're putting more affordable housing here.
Yeah. I mean, Ruth mentioned that property that's right there, and I think that's a great example.
Yeah.
It's a really, that, the
Or-
duplex is
yeah.
right here. It's a real, you don't even notice that it's a two-family.
Paul did a good job.
Right,
He does a good job.
He
One
does.
On one side, one entrance on another side.
Yeah,
it's got all the architectural features of a single-family home, I think it's a really good example.
But most people don't do that, they don't put the 350
Right.
grand into it. They cut wherever they can,
yeah.
but that's, that's above and beyond.
I guess I would hate to see it look like like Park Hill, where they're just a building with no architectural features and
Okay.
locked anywhere.
How about some container homes?
ADUs, a whole bunch of ADUs.
Well, if they're nicely done,
They
that's
do some
fine.
cool stuff with them.
Yeah, they can.
Containers.
Some really. cool
So,
stuff.
yeah, there's a good, so is there any type of square footage requirements under this?
You don't have that in there.
Nothing.
Can't have that anymore.
Well, that's not-
And that,
Opted in.
Can you
Right.
have architectural that it,
If they're tangible, yes. So if you wanted to add, facade requirements
Yeah,
or
something.
split,
Mixed.
fenestration or what,
Yeah.
In theory, this
Yes.
could become a tiny home park.
it
Good.
could be, because we can't regulate the minimum size.
Can you regulate the maximum size?
Yes,
Okay.
you can cap, yes. I don't think they could do all detached like that, because I don't think they'd have the space, maybe they could. Because if they're all detached and they all need their own well, they all need their own, unless they did it as a community septic.
Community.
There's a project that we looked at, it's in Massachusetts, that's a little tiny house. Let me see. if And I haven't shown it to anybody yet that says, no, not that. Here's the. I'm gonna try to do this. This is not-
how did that happen, make how they came with for a tiny house?
No, I was gonna show it on.
With that.
I
Curious.
just gotta pull it up on here just to. turn my computer screen. It's got a little thing in front of it. I don't know if you can see that. This is
they're
a,
architecturally.
these are small, these are tiny houses. They're on a very small parcel.
Mhm.
They have they're centered on a community green, and then they have a little area for parking and stuff here.
If you do a nice architectural thing, it can work. If you do ugly.
Yeah, so,
So in theory, it could become that, it could be pre-manufactured homes, could
Yeah,
it
it could
become
be.
trailer homes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
The trailer
what-
park.
Yeah.
That's what I
I
was
mean,
worried about.
What stops in the air?
well, they still have to meet all the same requirements. So if they were going to, if somebody wanted to construct put six trailer mobile manufactured homes, which by
They can
statute,
be nice, or they
Yeah.
can look like Florida.
but mobile manufactured homes, we have to treat the same as a single family home. So if someone wanted to put six of
Oh, it's
them,
a trailer without wheels. you can-
Basically,
if it's a mobile manufactured home that meets the HUD standards, it's built to a separate building code that can't be treated differently than a single family home. If it's some other thing, then no, you can regulate it differently, but.
But you said you can have architectural standards, so it has to look decent.
Right, yeah, it would have to meet the same criteria. I haven't seen a lot of people do the mobile manufactured homes. Some people are looking at the modular.
Don't they do
Banks and
FEMA trailers, like in disaster areas where they just line up the trailers?
Yeah,
You
for
don't
short
do that.
term.
Yeah.
They're just RVs, basically.
They did that for fires here, too, they put it outside the house.
Mhm.
But you don't want that to be the permanent development,
No,
that look.
Yeah, I thought we had or had talked about, and we could certainly add back in, that no one building could contain more than 3 units. So if you wanted to do 6, it would be 2 3-unit buildings or
Yeah.
4 2-unit or whatever.
That
So we
was,
could-
yeah, that was my first comment. I don't want to see successes.
Hmm.
Like this again.
But I like your, landscaped green kind.
Yeah.
Where they're around something that looks decent.
Right,
And I don't know how you architecturally say, make it pretty.
Well, I mean, you could require some, common
Screening,
space.
so
yeah, we could,
Yeah.
cladding on the outside of it to give it, like we did with.
Right.
Yeah.
We had
like
some of
the
that.
partnership, have
We
stone
could
on the
pump it up a
bottom, 3
little.
feet up, then the
Makes
metal.
sense.
each unit shall
Yes,
contain
yeah,
direct
thanks.
exterior
Yeah.
entrance, building shall be designed architecturally compatible with adjacent residential uses. And I think it requires direct access outdoor space shall be provided within each unit.
Mhm.
So they're gonna need, everything's gonna be ground level. Rather than anybody being, a stacked duplex.
Yeah.
So we can kind of pump some of those standards up a little. That's one of the things that's kind of missing from actually these regs overall, is we don't have really design standards.
Yeah, the only place we do know is the warehouse.
Yeah,
That's standards.
but like even just pushing for a split face facade on a commercial building, it's,
Part would be,
No,
but it's like, you're gonna walk, amongst a bunch of other houses.
but there are towns that
Decent.
regulate the percent of, transparency, how many windows are on the front of a building and what materials you can use, what you can't use.
Nice.
Yeah, well,
So I know in town, they limited the 100 light bulb from your house.
yeah,
So it's like,
Dark sky only.
oh my God, when you park in, break in the house.
Well, I do think it is a concern because these are the frontage. Right, these are required to be on, to have the frontage. In some areas, you said, what was the part about doubling the frontage? Did I read something about that?
they have to have the double the size if they go to
about 6.
additional
About
units,
Okay,
all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
double the required frontage provided to go to 6 units. And so if that's total 12 units on 6 acres.
But when you get to 12, you have to have public water and sewer, so that.
Once you
That
go
doesn't-
to 6.
that doesn't make show
and then you
proper.
rate it
Yeah,
at 6,
but that
yeah,
limits
water.
to where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
And double
every-
frontage.
in every neighborhood.
That's good.
I don't know, I guess if I had a big farmland, or inherited a lot of farmland, right? To be able to develop would be an advantage of keeping it in the family and not going to sell it out to someone else to suck it out and up.
Does give the opportunity that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
Carve up
Give
pieces of it.
give up a little bit of that.
You hold
farmland.
some of the land, hold some of the land. I mean, eventually could a farm eventually be completely gone, like, 40 acres end up becoming like all these units over time? Yeah, right?
I don't,
Well,
well, it would become a subdivision with a new
Yeah.
road and.
As soon as you get past the
The
12
frontage.
units.
Yeah.
because they'll eat their frontage up,
Okay.
I mean, unless they were so perfectly situated that they could just stamp
Have like a
out.
circle.
But again, we're kind of holding the existing density, so at the end of the day,
The density is the same as what we
Right.
have.
Right.
Yeah.
the units may be in a different place on the property. But they really aren't gonna get more out of it, maybe a little bit, but
And a smart planner would make it so that they all could become individual lots, should they want to release the ownership rights.
if they,
Or they sell it to a developer and then the developer does. it.
Well,
Make sure
okay,
they
so
develop
that
it
just
that way.
triggered where it says here that we cannot have more than one residence on a property. How does that get around that? Or,
residents on a property.
yeah,
On a lot.
Or that can't be, I mean,
So
all the
it's-
MFTVs and apartments.
Yeah. I think
And
it's,
that
Depends on the
duplex
zone.
would have.
Yeah,
it's under section, this is one of my notes there, it's under section 400. Any lot containing more than one residential building at a time. Oh, that's for the grandfathering, and it says no more than one residential building shall be erected on or moved to a lot. Except as was grandfathered. That's section 400.
Section 100. except as hereinafter described. So we're proposing changes to section 400.
407.
So it falls under that chapter. Because accessory dwelling units, which have been on the books for quite some time. Would still,
I'm just asking, are we gonna have to tweak anything with the
Yeah.
verbiage up there?
Good.
Because, you know, we had that discussion of somebody wanting to have the family compound and have their
Right.
kids build a house on their property.
Yeah.
I've got 40 acres and I want to build a house for my kids. And
Mhm.
that says we can't do it. But now we're doing this, how is that any different?
Because we're describing it hereafter. Is the
So
short answer.
now you can create the family compound.
I think what they're suggesting is two single-family detached units located on in a
In a single one.
in an R1 200, yeah, like on a single building type of situation. We're providing an alternative. That one, I think it probably is referencing that, but there's a couple of things in here that don't make sense, and I guess that's one of them.
Because under the impression that in R3, you can have an accessory building. And I think you have to owner occupy one of your two, whether it's your accessory building or your primary, if I'm not mistaken. I thought the building inspector was talking to me about that. Anybody have anything about
I thought that was something we got rid of,
an accessory building?
an accessory dwelling unit.
Like an accessory
It
building
doesn't
that
have
has-
to be occupied by a resident, by a relative anymore.
It doesn't have to be occupied by a relative anymore.
So you can rent out one and
Yeah.
you're.
You can rent out one, but someone else has to live in one and you can't rent out two.
Oh, right.
Right, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, the owner has to be on the property, doesn't
Right.
matter which unit.
Doesn't matter what you.
So what's up to the Airbnb? That's one property.
They don't establish residency,
Okay.
so it's 30+ days, they become a tenant. So at 29 day, whatever, they're subject to the landlord tenant dispute, eviction, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Short-term rental would be different.
Yeah.
That's right, you guys
We
went
have
to the
3 months minimums,
CZ.
right?
You saw that whole presentation about
Yeah.
that, that's why.
Have these ones, don't we have a 3-month minimum short term thing, or did I get that wrong? I thought if you Airbnb, it had to be. for
We
at
don't
least 3
have,
months.
we don't allow them.
There's nothing in the regs about that, I don't think. 3 months.
I thought a short term
No,
rental
Airbnb.
period was like at least 3 months and no overnight Airbnbs.
Even if it's in your house, you can't like let somebody stay.
I don't think we have any Airbnb.
You
short
can
term.
do whatever you can, you can do whatever you want.
But I thought there was one, on,
We have 2 Airbnbs in town.
yeah, I thought there was one.
We do.
Like when I cut back to Walmart on whatever that.
They didn't ask
That like
us.
goes to
They're
your.
not permitted.
I just did a
How rude.
survey for fun.
We have 2 people.
State your
marking.
name for record, please.
I thought you had to do it for at least the 3-month time period in East Windsor.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like you could put
I'm
your stuff
thinking
on
backwards.
Airbnb, but you'd have to stay for
90
3
days.
months.
That's
90 days.
because we have a 90-day requirement in the accessory dwelling unit that says it shall not be rented for a period of less than.
Of less than, yeah.
And that was to just, give a nod to that,
was- Yeah.
so that someone didn't
Take it.
turn it to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay to work box.
Mm.
No, that's true.
Okay.
We did find our list of hopefuls, and some stuff we've taken care of with the West Point Design District. There is, and Danielle had been working on, pulling a lot of the sign regs from surrounding towns, and she's gonna pick that up again and work on that. We did get asked to think about extenuating circumstances for recreational vehicles, like the RVs. And I saw something interesting, a public notice recently for a special permit in Weathersfield for someone to park their boat in their driveway. And so.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that was,
it's
you
all-
have to renew it. So like, I think it's just because you're reaching out to your neighbors, you're having a public hearing. And,
But you can't park it even for a day in your driveway while
Well-
you're washing?
but this is, there's no space. Like, I'm sure it has to do with, he probably couldn't fit his boat between That's
the house and the property line to get
And the
into the
next house.
backyard.
in the next house.
Yeah,
You're like, what?
so he's got this 35-foot Grady White in the driveway.
We have situations where people have RVs and seasonally, the ground is really wet and
And
the
then it
RV would
sinks in.
sink, and so we were earlier having a discussion at this meeting about having the ZEO have some sort of discretion. And then I just think it's easier to, not easier, but cleaner to have someone come in and ask permission
Mhm.
and get a formal,
Mhm.
I've been given a permit to do this in my, store in my driveway.
I get, as long as they don't block the sight line for the neighbor to get in and out. And
Right,
I mean,
and alternative,
anything for
yeah,
a day to watch it to whatever shouldn't, to camp in it for a night with the grandkids, that kind of
and
thing.
for like
shouldn't be
long-term
it.
storage.
Yeah.
Outside of the parameters of what we're asking for, would require some sort of a special permit.
There's a lot of that around town. Drive around and look, there's a lot of boats in the front, a lot of campers in the front. I don't know if people are supposed to park them.
Yeah.
In the backyard, on the
I
grass.
can park in the backyard of your septic system.
And
Yeah.
self-storage facility.
True.
But if
Yeah.
it's behind
If
the
you
house.
can get in one, they better hurry up and build some more.
I guess for them to go by the river, it's all about campers.
I'm starting to have a seizure.
Where's my keys?
Well, as you know, that's considering now, self-storage and rentals. Well, the market turns.
I mean, you spend $2 or $3 or $4 or $500,000 on a piece of equipment. I think you might want to know where it's gonna go.
And then it doesn't get
Sometimes people
vandalized.
aren't that educated like me.
Yeah. Let me be clear, I am not. But you get these boats that are like $500,000 a foot and you might want to have a place to park it. Tower over the house.
So we didn't intend to go through this
Yeah.
whole list tonight, we just wanted to show you that, yep, we've been adding to the list.
I have one more question.
Yep.
901.2, isn't it always been standard practice that anyone gets a building permit goes through, big project, always go through zoning first? So that's always how it worked.
That's,
They always, before they go to building, they always go to
Oh,
zoning.
yes, I think we clarified that
Yeah,
already,
that's,
yeah,
that's standard procedure usually, I thought.
yes. There's a hierarchy for, you're not getting your zoning permit until you're good with wetlands. and
You're
you're
gonna
good
walk
with the
in
health
for it, yeah,
department,
that's right.
This one,
And then you get zoning and then they can issue buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it says no building permit shall be issued unless a zoning permit has been
Yeah.
issued,
Yeah,
but there aren't always zoning permits
Right.
required.
yeah.
Right.
And-
Yeah.
So a lot of times with building permit, you go like this, you go, hey,
But you
go over
fix
there
it.
first, check them.
Yeah.
That's
Building.
That's exactly how it's worded.
Yeah,
Maybe we do.
That is,
yeah,
That's
Oh, I
exactly how
thought-
it's worded.
that's always been like that.
okay, I just thought we got it already when,
Before you should be go across the hall, now.
Yeah, we fixed it.
Yeah.
No building permit shall be issued for any project which requires a zoning.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
It's a need for
I thought-
clarification.
So we'll go through and do a quick washing of, what did we accomplish, the changes we've had, and then add any others. You said you have a list, right?
Well, I've been kind of keeping
Yeah.
some things, so,
He's been retired.
well,
Why
All
should
so I don't know if you guys have your books with
I
you.
work out my book?
So I started basically at the beginning, so. The first one, probably the most controversial, 305.7, which is the farm regs and permitted uses.
Yep,
And,
other uses,
and good old,
field workers housing,
no,
I know.
event facility,
event halls, yep, event hosting,
yeah,
yep.
I mean,
That ain't dead yet.
Section
believe me.
should that just come out of there?
No. I think that's fine.
I'm just thinking, should we just take it out of there?
What?
The event hosting as a permitted use in a,
Uses requirement special.
in under the farm regs.
Yeah.
I mean, because
That's
we have other avenues where you can get, permits for individual events,
Well, what about if somebody had a farm and wanted to, or
You can,
Yeah.
winery?
under a special permit. Wineries are different.
Listed.
Winery is a listed use,
Okay.
number 11.
I think that's just a backdoor loophole, my
Yeah.
opinion. Like I said, having
Have-
special events in the farm rights. Have it, I mean, not special events.
Event proposed in this.
Yeah, events.
Yeah.
Cause it's
No
not
wedding
really,
venue.
it's not really farming anymore. Now
Yeah.
you're a commercial activity. So that was my first one. Then we kind of talked a little bit about this whole, you know.
Oh, yeah.
When you're done.
Well, some of this is kind of scratchy, but I can definitely
Yeah.
clean it up for you. How we talked about this one residence per property. And again, some of the thoughts I had was, well, you know, if you wanted to allow somebody to have two, you know, either a home for their aging parents or a home for their kids on the property, you know, say, okay, as long as it can be subdivided, if, you know, so it's laid out in a manner that it could be subdivided. Or saying that it must be a occupied by a family member, that one person has to own all the dwellings on the property, that it's not needed
I
to
think that should
anyone
lay
else.
out one person owning the dwellings.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And then is it on the same water supply and?
doesn't have to, because I mean, again, you know, depending on the size of the property, they could be, you know, a couple 100 feet away from the main
Yes,
house.
but but we're talking about
Sometimes
two
it's
separate
less
parcels.
expensive to tie sewers together, right?
That into
If you did
Oh,
two
right.
dwellings.
an accessory dwelling.
Okay,
So it's
Bond into it.
that's fine,
My
yeah.
one additional or multiple?
Well, I guess it all depends on the
I
size of the
feel
property. I mean, if you have 100 acres, like.
This way.
I mean,
Yeah, this way, yeah, as long as I own,
you know,
I would never want.
You almost let the owner then warm up us.
I just, you
It's
know,
like going through the subdivision process without, you really have
But
to
as
do
long
that
as-
in order to.
but it's not deeded to anyone else, and it's not, you know, it can only be occupied by.
I know, but you have to do.
Then
the
you like
planning
almost own
for
a
it.
compound.
Hmm?
You almost have like a compound, then
Well, you
you
got one
own
property.
everything and you build a house on every acre you have that are technically building law.
But then you fall into that subdivision rules.
Subdivision
Well,
kicks in
Well,
right after
I
two.
What
If you wanna buy yourself 4 houses,
what if you, by special permit, allowed for
get one
more
driveway.
than one accessory dwelling unit?
Mhm.
There are towns that require, as part of the accessory dwelling unit process, a deed restriction to be placed on the property related to occupancy.
Mhm.
That the owner has to live there.
And I know that's been vetted. One of the towns that I'm in, actually, we have that because we're in proximity to Yukon, and so there was concern about student housing. But I guess by special permit, maybe you allow for, you know, up to 2. But I think to your point, it's probably worth figuring out what the health department would do, because they may just say, no, like,
Can't get your septic's too close to your well.
well, because
Well, they don't.
community
it would
systems
be-
and.
Yeah, even when we were talking about the tiny houses on wheels, they weren't
Thrilled.
too keen about them connecting to the existing systems and so just.
Yeah.
Well, look at an RV park.
Mhm.
They have hundreds of spaces connected to a single system.
Yeah.
But it was designed for it.
Yeah, but again, but you can design for it.
Right.
I mean, just a matter of capacity.
And yeah, there's a little bit of a difference with the logistics because you have separate buildings functioning independently, which are pumping to the same place. But other than that, it's really just a function of bedrooms.
You
It, you know,
got a design for it.
right, number of
But
bedrooms.
I've been
square footage.
saying, again, depending on the lot size, you can have individual systems. You don't have to have a combined system. You know, you're blocking them out. You know.
And some RV parks even don't have the individuals you dump on your way out.
Right.
We've got the one, exactly, we've got the one holding tank at the driveway right
Yeah,
when you
you
leave.
have wet sites and dry sites.
Exactly,
That's how
exactly.
they were built before they became not allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just, that was, I don't wanna spend a lot of time on it, but just one of the things that, you know, we probably should have an avenue for that. Then I also kind of made some notes on things that are just not enforced or 404C talks about that, all farm, you know, equipment, farm machinery can only be stored on the side or rear yards. We got plenty of places that got stuff right in the front, tractors and you name it. Right in the front.
We sure do.
You know. Got one right on 140. You got a row of tractors sitting in the front yard. So we're gonna either enforce it or take it out, you know? And I have 404I. It talks about you're allowed to have, 2 tag sales a year. How is that monitored?
I swear I've heard people call many times.
That's like the counting trucks,
Yeah.
1 truck, 2 truck. 4 truck.
Again, it's in there, but
I know.
how, there's no enforcement, how can you enforce it? Because
Complaint and
people
get
are pulling.
Well, to me, that prohibits someone from
Yeah.
getting a perpetual tag sale, like a perpetual yard sale.
I guess
That's,
it hurts me, say, I don't think you say one day, like,
Right.
I get
Yeah.
it. It starts, yeah.
And I to the neighbors, they're parked all over the street.
404J2. No more than 6 aircraft. The Skylark Air, they have more than 6 aircraft there.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
Yep.
it's 404J2. It says you can't have more than 6 aircraft at a landing strip.
with a wing,
Oh,
max
man.
wingspan of 49
No.
feet,
I'm in trouble.
is that dip to dip, or is that?
I would,
Tips,
is there any FAA stuff with that? Is that based upon the type of facility it is
I
or
don't know.
anything
I
like
mean, it's
that?
just kind of strange. I saw that. I'm like,
I never saw it
It's an
before.
A2 zone, so I guess if they're,
I'm talking.
Private airstrip, because we had, 2 of them, but at one point in time, right, we had Roberts and.
Yeah, Roberts.
Bankrupt,
Yeah.
way back. Right, it's further down, I don't know if it used to be, there used to be an airstrip down, that gray one on Route 5, almost in South Windsor. Used to be an airstrip there too.
Okay.
Used to be a Bancroft property.
Rock does thing, or just?
No private.
404K says ZEO should issue a permit for farm stands. Does that actually happen?
I was gonna apply
They
for
went
one.
through that through the farm regs.
When guys are selling corn on the side of the road,
Oh, no.
they
It's
come,
for seasonal farm stand.
so this, the pop-up guy selling produce on the side of the road doesn't
Eggs.
apply into this?
the eggs.
Oh.
Sometimes they have something, or mechanism, have something there, if something gets
Okay.
crazy.
I did, like I said, I saw some of these things and I'm like, I don't think that actually happens.
Just-
Yeah, I think the
It's for,
permanent structure stuff is different. Yeah,
Then, again, 404L2. No trucks, buses, trailers, construction equipment, any other vehicles exceeding 1.5 ton capacity can be parked at a residence. That's,
that gets.
how would you know
it
the
does, okay,
capacity
because I,
of a trailer?
We have.
Well, gross vehicle weight, you get that through
there's
the
people that
assessor.
got dump
Oh.
trucks that they own, private dump trucks that's sitting in yards and, okay.
Well, I think when we don't go out hunting for all these things.
You know,
But when it gets.
When we get a
Neighbors
complaint,
Okay,
yeah,
well, they have school
Yeah.
bus drivers that park their bus at their house every day, I think we're gonna enforce something like that.
But that's
Yeah.
there for now.
yeah, it's
Between routes, they put their truck buses.
the tractor trailer cabs
Yeah.
and the.
Oh, like we had, like we had at,
yeah. Number 3, sale of no more than 2 vehicles per year on your property. We got
You know,
people on 140 that look like they got a car every week sitting out there for sale,
well, that's what I figured,
one at a time.
yeah.
A resident corner of the farm. But it's, to me, if it's a residence, it's under parking of a house.
I'm just saying again, how do you enforce that? How do you monitor that? When you say you can't sell more than 2 vehicles a year?
Take a picture of one, take a picture of the next one.
They actually
Yeah.
done,
Or
I'm
sales
just saying,
sign on it.
there was a house next to the new gas, the new car wash, this one across the street, that they were selling cars, they had one pretty right there forever. And they got stopped. They're doing a different car a week, not that I care,
Mhm.
yeah.
And 404N1C. So that doesn't allow for more than one of each type of vehicle to be stored. So does that mean you can't have a I know there's people that have multiple boats. They have a big boat and they have a small boat.
Mhm.
People that have a big RV and a small RV.
So you can't have two kayaks?
Apparently not. Well, this is outside storage.
Oh.
There are big kayaks and small ones, yeah.
But I mean, again, it's,
Plastic,
So 55.
mine's in the garage,
Or more.
it's only one,
Oh, not be more than 50.
right, but it just says,
Yeah.
it just says
it's more than 55.
no more than one of each type of vehicle,
Trailer.
which can be stored. So this is, that's covering boats, RVs, what else is in there?
Well, it becomes a mess in somebody's yard when they store tons of crap all over.
You don't want them to store for other people, so you're assuming one of the each type per residence.
I guess the
Like-
assumption is
Per
you
person
have an
ownership,
RV, you
per
have
person
a.
ownership.
But it's one too.
I mean, 55 feet in length is big.
Yeah. I mean, there are rules and there's enforcement, we gotta let people live with it too. I get
But
it.
55
No, I get it, I
feet
get
is
it, I
big.
get it,
That's,
that's a tractor trailer.
That's not a kayak.
503.3. Has to do with outdoor dining. And it talks about, is, I think a lot of that after COVID, we allowed things to continue with outdoor dining.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really talk about, seasonal is allowed,
Other places are temporary, then they're putting them back, like Sophia, they don't, I don't think they put the temporary tents and stuff back anymore.
No, they were tight over there. That was
They're
a
still
hard,
tight.
that was a hard location to put that in.
They took away a bunch of his parking to put that up,
Yeah.
that hurts.
and the restaurant wasn't set up for it, the way they had to run the food in and out.
No.
so my question was just, do we need to define what the season is? Is there an annual renewal? It just doesn't really kind of cover any of that stuff.
That's based on statute,
Okay.
so. It, we're calling it seasonal, but essentially non-permanent outdoor dining. If they wanted to have it in the winter or.
Because now
whatever.
you see a lot of them, they do those like igloo things, you know,
Yeah,
winter time.
yeah, and so that has to be allowed as of right. So we tracked with the statute for that.
So they can-
600.2. This one, when the last time it came up, we had a kind of a difference of opinion on interpretation, where it talks about the buffer that, you know, requirements shall be reduced by 50%, and, you know, my interpretation was that that's the number, it's not 48, it's not, you know, 72, that it either is 100 or 50. But I don't know if we need to tweak the language,
He was also.
so it's not longer a
At
for
discretion was the.
for
rule, too.
interpretation, yeah, that's
Because
kind of,
then you're not applying it evenly.
yeah, so when you're in discretion and you throw in the word shall.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you
Yeah.
that two little toss-ups there, is like. So I didn't know if we wanted to wordsmith that a little better to.
I think the other question that's come up a few times with this is that it talks about uses. And you could have a single family use that's non-conforming on Route 5. And I think with United Ag and Turf, this came up. They're having to design a buffer against a non-conforming use because there's a house next door. And so this talks about uses and this, should you consider zone?
Kind of the almost same thing with the Penske application also, because they were
Yeah.
having a non-conforming use, I would call it.
Right, yeah, it was a residence, even though really it was like a commercial business.
Burma.
So I think that's probably why there's, maybe why they put that reduction in there.
Maybe
but-
that zone.
But that's why maybe they allow them to get it reduced to that by half.
I just, when the word shall is in there, people kind of make it say, well, it's mandatory, you're gonna reduce it.
Yeah,
It should apply to my
Land
application.
use buffer is 100.
That should be nice.
It's-
Industrial uses and
I always see it, it's like,
50 feet between multi-family and single family. That may require. Except if you have a fence. That's or dense land use. Maybe it shouldn't have a capital A there. That's what I think. So if it didn't have a capital A, you're saying except when the buffer includes a visual screen of dense planting and or solid fencing at the discretion of the commission, buffer requirement. Maybe.
Well, I have a question. Have you ever not reduced it to 50?
Yes,
For which project?
the Historic Society.
Yeah,
Event,
that was the payoff.
This thing that was,
Yeah.
Blue one?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was just, but the whole project was denied.
Because.
Yeah.
of the
but
buffer,
because
they
of
didn't
that,
meet the
that
buffer.
was our reasoning.
And you wouldn't have used, we didn't know.
Well, I guess. That wasn't the reason. I must have summarized in my head. But my point is, if every time everybody, they ask, they get it, then the 100 feet is really not doing
But that
anything.
was the argument the applicant was making, was they're right because we always did it,
Mhm.
but it's at the discretion, so
Right.
we said it's our discretion, we're not doing it. Because the neighbors are, it's like right up against their house,
I took that.
It's the intensity of the use versus
the neighbor was unfair to the neighbors.
I guess if that section comes out of the regs, it's a moot point.
601.3. We now, letter A, now that we've had an application that we've allowed millings to be used. Does that need to be amended there?
Didn't we?
we amended.
Yeah, we.
But that, it doesn't talk about, it just says bituminous asphalt or bituminous concrete.
Gravel surfaces may be permitted for seasonal overflow.
It doesn't talk about millings.
Well, that's because we had the discussion with them about what,
So
And-
what we have though is the commission may allow a special permit. By special permit, pervious pavement or others, or a similar non-paved surface,
Okay,
yeah, to be installed, we did that.
okay, so that corrects that up there.
Mhm.
Okay.
we never read so much
That's why
about the
we
difference
had,
between asphalt and concrete.
yeah, that's why.
It's the latest fix one out there.
Have to have a special use permit
They did
because
pervious,
of the pervious pavement.
right, yeah.
Everybody's doing it now.
They did pervious pavement, not milling, but
What did you say?
Everybody's doing millions now.
Oh,
no, that one was, like a design pervious pavement.
Storage unit.
yeah, but that was put in there to address the millings thing.
Yes, yep.
602.9 talks about no flashing, intermittent, or intensity variations of lighting.
That's everywhere.
Well,
But,
that's the car wash,
well, yeah, we just kind of, we,
Disco, we call it the disco.
yeah,
yeah, that it's changing color lights,
Now,
which they tone down so they're not as bright.
but now
they
even,
first have on.
even
No.
toning down isn't permitted according to
Right.
this, because that's intensity varying.
Okay, but then we were stuck with, this is not exterior light, this is.
Right.
interior.
So the reason that red was put in there was for the signs for like open signs. I think that's why this whole thing was put in, any flat sign.
But electronic billboards now, when they change,
Yeah,
it kind of does the exact, so that's what I'm just saying, that needs to be
Do we
reworded
allow,
or tweaked, or
do we allow those dynamic displays, electronic message centers?
the school has one.
That doesn't count.
Town building.
Doesn't count.
No, building, they
The
get,
fire department came in and we're all.
Yeah, we came there.
asking for one.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
they got theirs.
that's municipality though.
They get a,
Mhm.
They were on their plan.
And they moved
Dynamic
twice.
display, that's what they
yeah,
call
but it was existing, was it not?
No,
It wasn't,
Yeah,
it wasn't the flashing
came-
and changing.
this was 10 years ago, probably.
what was the side
Yeah,
tangent?
That was 602.9.
Church,
I don't think they-
across people, next to Wendy's.
Crossroads?
Oh,
Crossroads,
There's
that
a
church, they have a
change.
big thing up there that faces
Like a
them.
ticket.
I thought they had a big
Ticket.
sign, but I don't think it's a dynamic
Yeah.
display, is it?
Like, no, I don't think.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
I think that was put in just for the signs around town. Going back to the Stone Age before the LEDs came out and that's been there forever.
Dynamic.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
Well, I just,
time to change.
well. But it can't be an eyesore. So it's like.
So the only time the lights flash in the car wash are when people in the car, are not, I drive by every morning, they don't flash in the morning.
And we put time restrictions on them.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying,
I know what we do here and I know what happens in the real world.
right, so.
But when they come in to get their after the fact permit.
So do we put that,
Limits on.
do we
when
put
they
that
can-
right into into 602.9, saying, you know, between the hours of so and so?
Well, where it's not. in this.
So
There's a DOT sign on the highway. That
That's
it's saying
on
there's an
Street.
accident.
No, there's the flat,
That's useful.
That's not a sign though.
That's not a sign.
that's a public
the
communication.
ones that are
device.
attached to
Oh.
the overpasses.
Emergency
What
communication.
it, what is
They're
that?
Not
really
commercial
just-
speech.
Oh,
In
But they're
Connecticut, we
really-
can only regulate commercial speech.
okay. But they're really useful. If the highway is backed up.
That's right.
And you know it before you get on.
If it's aiding in the
Public
sale of
safety.
service, sale of goods, this
There you go.
something of service, the promulgation of a blah, blah, blah. There's a definition of commercial speech in specifically in Connecticut, and if it doesn't qualify, you can't regulate.
Okay,
It's
so
not, it's always backed up, so you go look on Facebook like everybody else does.
I
So-
don't know. Driving. I don't-
So if you wanted to,
And it's
if you
like-
wanted to put up a sign in your front yard that said,
Yeah.
I love, you know, Blue Jays.
Yeah.
You, if it met the size criteria and that's all it said, and it was flashing and all kinds of stuff, they would have to look at that it creates a hazard. Because it's not a sign, so it's not subject to these regulations otherwise. It's a whole nother,
Yeah.
whole nother
You've been
So
down
it's
that,
like
you've been down
Christmas
that. road.
lights.
content neutral sign regulations. Yeah, but those are
Christmas
not,
Lights can flash.
What would they?
they're not signed. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's more than one holiday every, you know, you can have.
Yeah, no, I've seen them
Fourth of
first,
July,
yeah.
stay and stuff.
And
But-
it started in Connecticut because a woman put up a sign. Talking about a contractor that she was fighting with, basically saying, don't use it. And so the town first said, you can't put up a sign, it doesn't meet the criteria, and then later issued a second. Notice that talked only about the square footage, because she exceeded the square footage in the zone, it went to court. Kuchka versus Arisian is the case.
She made it smaller.
And the court said it's not a sign, she's not selling anything, she's not communicating anything commercially. It's she's giving her opinion, it's not a sign, you can't regulate it.
Wow. Okay.
2016.
Wow.
So.
Such car wash
The
lights
lighting.
on the sign.
So, yeah, if you go to,
Yeah.
That's why I think just don't touch it.
The.
Well, if we're compliant, I'd rather every morning, it's not that bright, it's dull, and not.
And when I drive, go in the car wash.
yeah, just again, maybe that's it, we just put the hours restriction. right
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Ran
The
down my,
next one, I got a 701.2. Talks about harmony with the area under special use permits.
That's what we.
Well, the one
Yeah.
item I kind of, we always missed, or doesn't have anything to talk about quality of life. So if something interferes with somebody's quality of life, we need to look at that.
Yeah,
so with that up for debate, that's everybody's different with quality of life.
well, yeah, exactly.
Well, you can make an argument,
Yeah,
make an argument.
Yeah,
But there's nothing,
how would it affect your quality of life? Yeah,
yeah, but if there's nothing in there that says you have to consider it,
there's no argument.
there's no argument.
Yeah,
Cause we hear a lot of times people talk about quality of life, but there's no part of our reg that
with dogs.
asks us to look at that.
Otherwise, yeah.
The dog's barking, I think the house is for sale, so I think
Oh.
it did move.
Oh,
Cause I saw it, you know, when you look
yeah.
at real
remember the guy
estate
with-
listings.
I forgot about that.
Kennel next door, oh, yeah, he was here going bananas.
I think
dog
she's,
barking.
yeah.
Whatever the last one passed.
701.8. Residential impact. I put a note on here as far as like noise or traffic,
Quality of life.
traffic quality of life.
Yep.
So, okay, so it'd be covered under both.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's why you buy 60 acres, you put a house in the middle, leave me alone.
801.6. That's our Vulcan area requirements. I didn't know if we needed, now that we have the warehouse point design district, and do we need to update the Vulcan area table? There's nothing new.
It's in the district.
So it's in that its own separate section, we don't have to worry about, okay. Last one I have is 802.8.
Federal requirements for granting a special permit. For MFPD.
I put a note down for noise and frequency.
Mhm.
Fire whistle.
Noise and
I'm
frequency.
now trying to remember what I meant. when I wrote that
I
down.
know
Fire
it's-
Could it be 902?
Is that fire whistles like that?
902 or site,
The noise being like decibel rating.
Yeah, there's no even rating for it.
what was it, 802 point?
I put that 802.8.
Is there a rating in here? No, there's no decimal rating, not one here.
Says, shall
We've
consider
applied-
general objective,
Yeah.
public health, safety, general welfare, public convenience, property values.
Fire whistle.
So maybe that was just another area that we could also insert quality of life. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. I don't understand what that would.
Big fun, but-
Does Broadbrook have a fire whistle?
Yeah.
I mean, the Wales Point,
Yeah,
it goes off to,
The horn,
that's the
Does
horn.
it go off at noon?
yes,
Does it do noon and 6? Just
yeah, if I remember correctly,
Yeah, I hear it at noon.
it's not as, it's not like this.
It just still going off?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I talked to the chief about that one time and I said, listen, we gotta, you know, I understand. You know. The importance of it, but you lower it down a little bit, because everybody has cell phone and pagers and. Not pagers, cell phones and text messages, and I'm sure they get alerts on their phones.
It's the true value, I think at this point in time. Is more really like on the street, right, in front of the
If somebody's walking by, meaning the trucks are about to come out.
driving and before the trucks come out, you know, the horns going on. so
maybe,
you have
maybe not at that decibel level.
Yeah, they're knocked down and passed out at that.
Peg loved that sign.
Mhm.
It's across from Star
One
Harbor.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the chief,
That was my
Yeah.
whole list.
the chief.
She can hear it from the house.
Because it's tradition, what's tradition of waking people up? Let's make a new tradition. I don't know how people live by the fire thing.
I mean- You may have this.
Oh, okay.
I think I don't support the fire department, I do.
Mhm.
All right, does anybody else have anything that?
You want to run your joke. Good
That's right.
job, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for retired.
I guess we're on our POCD survey update.
As of last week, we had 68 respondents.
That's
Did you run
good.
again?
I think I looked this morning, we're, I think, just under 80,
Not
That's
bad.
really good.
Yeah.
getting there.
Okay.
For really not a lot of effort in the publishing at this point, it's not done like a significant push.
I don't know if the Five Village Voice came out again yet. It's coming out soon.
It's,
in
it
there.
said in it that there would be a survey. Didn't
Yeah,
say.
now it's
Now,
the next one
Here's
that
a
comes
link
out.
to it.
May 1st, I think you said?
Yeah, May 1st, it'll come out again with the scan, the QR code and the URL. And then, we'll leave the footer on the agenda for people when they go to see what's on the agenda, they'll be reminded. We also are gonna be working on a, business survey. And, getting some feedback from folks who are operating in business here.
Did you tell them about, what are we're still considering the dynamic display sign at the firehouse?
It's running at the high school already.
Okay, so it's on.
Reminder for the
outside.
POCD survey.
Oh, good.
So, and we're trying to get it at Warehouse Point, at the firehouse.
we added just one other item, just as a reminder, did everybody see that the date of our
Yeah.
training has been changed to May 2nd?
Oh.
Yes.
That's the difference between 15 and second. Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to discuss?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
aye.
Unanimous.
I really want to say number 1871.
7.
You don't have to say number at the end.